Hey, it's Brad over here. Today we're doing another classic deck tech. This one is Ozzati, the Draenei Burn Mage. You see, there's really not much of a burn deck in this game. While there are plenty of aggro decks, and there's some graveyard-centric decks with some free burn here and there, and even Rogue has some pretty close burn strategies with Overkill. This is as close as I can get to an actual, just straight-up Lava Spike style burn deck. Classic is a format that's all about doing things fast and unfair, and often linear strategies, if they can't grind it out too slowly, they want to get the game done quick and fast. So, burn. Here's what we were trying to do. We wanted to play around this card, Flames from Beyond. This is a wacko mechanic called Warp. As this ability is revealed from your deck, you may remove it from the game. If you do, you may play it immediately without paying its cost. Deal 5 to the target hero. So it's 5 fire damage target hero. This is basically pay 0, deal 5 to their hero. That's a huge chunk, man, dealing 5 to them, and you're usually paying 0 for this card. So Warp was kind of a crazy mechanic that came out towards the end of the game and got a little bit of play, but the game was heading towards its closure at that point. And this doesn't help us control the board at all, so it is kind of hard to build around, because you basically have to build a deck that's aggressive enough that it wants to just shoot the opponents for 5. And you need a bunch of reveal triggers to really get set up out of this. This game doesn't have too many brainstorm effects or effects that put cards back on top of your deck. We do have Spark of Brilliance. We have 3 of these in the deck. Draw 2 cards, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So we can draw one of these into our just naturally draw it into our hand, and then later spark and put it back on top so we can set it up to use one of our quests to basically do a reveal effect, and boom, hit the opponent for 5 burn damage for free. So that was the core card I wanted to try out. If we're burning, we want to try out Great Elekk. This is a mount if you're not familiar with it. It's a 2 mana 0/4, and mounts can't be attacked. All your quests cost 1 less to complete at all times. And when you place a resource face up, until the end of your turn, if you would deal damage, you deal +2 instead. This does stack, but you can only play 1 resource per turn under most circumstances. So this is basically just another free way to get +2 damage. So what we're going to be going for here is get an Elekk in play, and then get some quests that are cheap or at least free to complete, and then reveal into a Flames from Beyond. With the Elekk trigger, this card is now pay 0, deal 7. So it's not enough to kill our opponent, but if we can get a couple of these, maybe, free 5 damage, 7 damage, we get 2 of them, that's up to 14. And that does happen a little bit in our league, so we can almost kind of combo burn them out. If we can get an Elekk in play, trigger it, and then do a whole bunch of reveals in one turn, we can try to get 2 or 3 Flames from Beyond triggers. It's not enough to actually end the game, so we need some actual burn spells to back up, plus burn spells are good with Elekk. Let's also go back to our hero real quick. This is a Draenei, and his flip is pay 4, flip him, deal 1 fire to all opposing heroes and allies. It is a basic speed, or sorcery speed, so we can only do it on our turn. But with an Elekk out, it still costs 4, but it's deal 3 to their board. So it's a nice, safe flip, and a lot of things only have 1 health anyways, so it can just be a safe way to slow down what the opponent's got going on. Another card we want to try out, this is a new card from Into the Mists. This is Nether Attunement. Now, originally this cost 2 and was later nerfed to 3, but for this league, you're going to see the gameplay where it actually costs 2, and maybe that'll help convince you to why it was nerfed to 3. But here's Nether Attunement. Pay 3, or in this league, pay 2. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you may play revealed ability, ally, or equipment with cost 3 or less immediately without playing its cost. And then you put the others on the bottom of your deck. This almost always hits. It's it's pretty wide in range, so anything that costs 3 or less. So we're usually going to aim for getting some free Flames from Beyond triggers, and then we get to cast a real card. So you can do something like turn 3, cast Nether Attunement. You might even reveal Flames, burn your opponent for 5, then put an Elekk in play. And again, if this thing costs actually 2, then turn 3 means you can do this with 2 mana, put the Elekk in play, then place a resource after the Elekk that got placed into play for free. Then you still have a mana for free if you wanted to do something like cast a Blistering Fire, which is essentially just Lava Spike, deal 3 to the opponent's face. So those are the main cards we want to do. We want to reveal this, deal some damage, and then this card is an excellent way to dig through our deck, get a bunch of reveal triggers, and then just generally filter for good stuff. Our best card really is Elekk. We want this in play, and the rest of the deck does a bunch of damage. Another new card we're trying out is Stephen the Strange. You might be familiar if you've ever heard of the company Marvel. So Stephen the Strange is a 3 mana 2/3 from Echoes of Thunder, the newest set. He's got Spell Shield, which is basically hexproof. So opponents can't target him with stuff, but we can. He can still be attacked. His effect is, if one or more cards would be revealed from your deck, you may reveal that many +2 instead. And if you have a card that reveals like 1, then he makes it reveal 3. When Steven enters play, reveal the top card of your deck, put a revealed ability into your hand, and put the rest in the bottom. So his effect works on himself. So he's going to enter play, reveal 3 cards, and then if there's an ability, you can take one, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom. So this is, again, another redundant reveal trigger to help hit these Flames from Beyonds, or it just grabs abilities in general, which means it can grab all these burn spells we have up here, or it can grab some of our utility spells, like Spark, which is like our brainstorm effect to put our Flames trigger back on top of our deck. So that is the core of the deck we're playing with. This guy's also at 3 mana, 2/3 Spell Shield, so they can't tap it down, they can't kill it. Like in Constructed, they basically have to have something in play to actually deal with it. And a lot of Constructed decks want to play maybe no allies and just some control-style removal spells. So he can go the distance sometimes. He can get in for 2, maybe 6 or 8 damage if they can't deal with him. Plus he's free value. I mean, guy just draws a card half the time. And we're getting to the point where we can start getting an extra 2 from reveal. This becomes a 2 mana reveal 7. We've got 3 spell suppressions. This is just a 1 mana utility card. You can silence an ability, ally, or equipment. So just put it on there and the card loses powers. If you put it on an armor, it can still actually block things, so it's not a great way to remove that, but you just need a nice utility way to deal with things in this game. Also, Steven helps find this card, and Nether Attunement can help find this card. That's why we're choosing to run 3 instead of the full 4, just because this is a no sideboards league, so I figured 3 with a whole bunch of ways to find it hopefully should get us there enough of the time. We've also got 3 Brittilize. It's an ongoing. When it enters play, you can destroy an armor, so that is both great for our burn deck. We don't want any armor sitting in play. And then later on, you can just sack it to deal 2. It's frost damage, and then whatever you deal 2 to can't attack that turn. This is great because you can play it early on without planning to sack it, and then later on when you get an Elekk out and then get the trigger, you've already pre-invested the resources or the mana into this card. You can just sack it later to deal 2 or 4 with an Elekk out. So we can really set ourselves out for like one big burn turn. So we are a burn deck, but we got some brain power going on, a little different than usual. We've also got Arcane Foresight. Pay 1, deal 1 to a hero or an ally. Or deal 3 if you've already played another ability this turn. Technically, if you cast Nether Attunement and you go into this, you've casted an ability already, or you've played an ability, and then by the time this plays off of Nether Attunement, it will be able to deal 3. And again, if you have an Elekk in play, this is pay 1, deal 5. So you can see we are a very efficient deck. We've got lots of free triggers. Let's look over here. Only 2 Blistering Fires. I really didn't know how exactly how this deck was going to turn out. So you see a lot of 2s and 3 ofs, and you're welcome to rebuild it however you want. We went with 2 of these because it has, you can never use it to actually kill an ally. This in emergency situations can just burn out like your opponent's aggro 1-drop that you don't want to lose. You don't want to take like 12 off of 1-drop. So, this card's only good at killing heroes, but sometimes it's what you need. We wanted to give ourselves an abundant amount of good burn spells, but also utility spells to hit off our Nether Attunement and Steven and quests that reveal. We are a fire hero, right over here. We are fire. So I figured let's try out some of the fire hero cards. They're typically just not very good. So here's Blast Wave. 2 mana, your hero deals 2 fire damage to each opposing hero and ally, and then a character dealt damage this way can't protect this turn. We don't have a whole lot of attackers. It's basically just Steven or bust. So the Protect clause isn't super useful, but this is just a pay 2 way to deal 2 to your opponent's board. Super useful if you're having to play defense, or if you've got an Elekk out, it's pay 2, deal 4 if you've set the trigger up right. Only 2 of these. We don't need it in that many matchups, but again, 2 of them with Nether Attunement and Steven and these quests. Sometimes we just get it when we need it. And this can totally turn off our opponent's aggro, buy us another 2 or 3 turns. That's enough for us to set up a combo burn turn. Scorch, we have 4 of these. Pay 0, deal 1 fire damage. This is basic speed. I don't know how good these ended up being, but the idea was pay 0, deal 3 with an Elekk out. Oh, there they are. We've also got Forgotten Secrets. This is another new card from Thunder. This has Recall, which is a lot like Flashback, but here's how it works. 2 mana, Forgotten Secrets, Recall. You may play this ability from your graveyard. If you do, the next time it would enter a graveyard from anywhere, remove it from the game instead. So yep, it's a lot like Flashback, but instead of a evergreen keyword across a bunch of cards, it's really just one cycle, the Forgotten cycle. The card's actual ability is draw a card. or 2 cards if you've played another ability this turn. So kind of like Arcane Foresight, it rewards our ability-heavy deck. We're only running 3 because a card doesn't actually do anything. It just draws us 1 to 2 cards, and then again can draw us 1 to 2 cards from the graveyard. So in theory, if it's turn 4, you can just pay 2, draw a card, and then recall this from the graveyard, draw another 2 cards, because recall typically gets better when you bring it back from the graveyard. That's how the cycle is intended to work. In this deck, you can cast it off Nether Attunement, so it's always going to be a guaranteed draw 2 off Nether Attunement, and then you can do it again later on. Another reason why we're playing these 0-mana Scorches and all these 1-mana spells, even Spell Suppression, sometimes you're just setting up, you're just silencing something. Maybe it's turn 3, you can Spell Suppression their important thing that heals, and then Forgotten Secrets. You're going to draw 2 cards off that, and then you have Forgotten Secrets in the graveyard later on to refill. This gives us quite a bit of card advantage when we're just burning our opponent. That's kind of Burn's problem, right? You're dealing 3, and then you run out of cards in your hand. But if you Blistering Fire, and then later on Blistering Fire into Forgotten Secrets, you can reload pretty reliably. So that is a new card advantage spell that we're trying out. We have 1 portal in the deck. Search your deck for an ally card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Pretty decent for 2 mana. I may consider even going up to another 2 or 3 copies of this just because of how important Great Elekk is to the deck and how much we end up functioning like a 1-turn combo deck. Taking a look at the quest base down here, we've got Concerted Efforts. One of the reasons we went Alliance. It matches up really well with Elekk. Pay 1 to complete, which is 0 with Elekk. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Put a revealed card with an even cost of 2 or more into your hand. Even cost is 2 or more, so it cannot find this 0 cost card. Nether Attunement at the time did cost 2, so this was often a find your Nether Attunement or your Great Elekk, or your card advantage spell or your portal to go find the Elekk. Brittilize ended up being one of the best cards in the deck, just as a emergency safety tool to like stop your opponent's 5-4 or something huge that's attacking you. Also just an overinvestment early on, so Concerted Efforts, probably the best quest in this deck. Forces of Jaedenar, we're playing only 1, just wanted to try it out in this league. If you've played an ability this turn, pay 1 to complete this quest, draw a card. Again, typically free with Elekk out, no reveal triggers, but sometimes it's nice to just have a pay 0, draw a card spell. 1 Draenei's Junk, pay 2 to complete, reveal the top 3, and you get to put a revealed card of cost of 1, 2, or 3 into your hand. This finds basically anything in the deck, everything except this 0 cost card. And it costs 1 with Elekk out, but importantly it helps us find Elekk. That gives us 8 quests here that help us find Elekk. And they're pretty cheap to do with or without the Elekk in play, so we've seen a lot of redundancy here. And again, more reveal triggers for the Flames cards. Zapped Giants, pay 2, reveal the top 3, and put a revealed ability into your hand. So this dodges our Steven and our Elekk, but grabs almost all the abilities. And again, it's another reveal trigger for Flames from Beyond. Corki's Ransom, this is our repeatable Journey trigger, or repeatable Elekk trigger. You can just put Corki's into its hand, and then pay 2 to draw a card. You have to, actually. Corki stifles your mana early on. Really bad to do this on turn 2, great to do on turn 6 or 7. So this is another card advantage source on top of Forgotten Secrets. And then it's just a very reliable way to keep re-triggering your Elekk. You can just keep doing it every turn until they kill the Elekk or you win the game. Now here's a spicy one, Ripple. This is a 2-mana, deal 1 arcane damage to the opposing board. It's not that great of an effect, but with Elekk out, it deals 3, which is redundant with our Blast Wave and our Hero Flip. We have lots of ways to just keep clearing the opposing low-cost or low-health allies off the board, keeping us alive. A huge part of Ripple, though, is stash. You can place it as a resource face up, and then you flip it face down, and the effect is the next time your hero would deal damage with an ability, it deals that much plus 1. So it only triggers once, unlike Elekk, which is until the end of the turn. But Ripple is also an ability that we can grab off of Zapped Giants and 1 Draenei's Junk and Stephen the Strange, and then we can use that as a triggerable way to get our Elekk, because all of our find cards basically don't find us quests, you just have to draw them naturally. Another reason that Forgotten Secrets is useful, just drawing you a volume of cards. Ripple ended up being a fantastic card for this deck. Just casting it to deal 3 to their board was excellent with Elekk out, or just having a way to stash and trigger, and the free extra damage you get from it, again, is a way to pay 0, it's my resource, get +1. So you could like stash your Ripple, and if you have an Elekk out, you can Scorch something for 4. It does 1, +2 from the Elekk, and then +1 from the Ripple trigger. Turn 4, stash Ripple, flip your hero, is deal 2 to their board without an Elekk out. There's just so much synergy going across the board. So that's the deck. A couple cards up here. Again, since this is a no sideboard league, I wanted to just have a couple of these in deck. Here's one, Goran Timewalker. Again, another free effect. When this ally enters play and when he is revealed from your deck, you may destroy target ability. This is the kind of card you want to load up on several up in your sideboard, and your opponent's ongoing ability strategy just gets crushed by your 0 mana effect. And you don't even need to draw it or do anything with it. You just reveal it and boom, destroy their ongoing. That's huge. And no sideboards, so this was just a card to have main deck that hopefully we can hit it and just blow our opponent out from their huge 3 or 4 mana investment. Xing-Ho, this card originally did cost 3, so in the league, in the gameplay here, you're going to see that it costed 3, so it got nerfed just because of how effective it is against so many armor strategies. But it is a 3 cost, for me it was a 3 cost cape. At the end of your turn, if your hero dealt 5 or more magical non-combat damage this turn, you may draw a card. So, free card draw, and because we're going to be dealing 5 a turn, this automatically deals 5, or we can combo up some burn to deal 5. It also has... you have to tap it now. Magical non-combat damage your hero would deal is unpreventable this turn. I think originally it was just a passive effect, so this card was pretty bonkers good in the right decks. For us, it's just a way to completely shut off armor and any damage prevention effects, which might be priests have some bubbles in theory. So this is a good way to break through bubbles and break through armor-heavy decks, which we, as a burn deck, just don't really have a lot of tools for. It's like, Brittilize your armor or turn it off, or burn you out before you can get your armor in play. That is the deck. I hope you enjoy seeing some of the combos we can do and how busted it can be to just do a bunch of free things and stack up card filtering and card draw and Elekk triggers. Hope you enjoy.